So this is where the rubber meets the road. Welcome to your interview practice. We're going to talk about how to answer the actual questions. And I'm going to first start off with sharing with you the different types of questions. I know we talked about this before, but just as a reminder, you have get to know you questions, job specific questions, situational questions, and culture fit questions. So in this module, we're going to go through examples of each of those. I'm going to pretend to be your interviewer, and you are going to pretend to be in the interview and craft your answer. So you're going to have to listen to the question in this module, pause the video, come up with your answer, and then move on to the next one, right? So we've talked about how to answer. We know that if it's a situational or behavioral question that we need to give the STAR format, right? And if they ask you get to know you questions, you need to be able to pitch. Make sure you remember how to pitch yourself based on your skills. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the questions and you're gonna pause the video and answer it and keep going after that, okay? Ready? Let's do it. All right, so let's start off with our get to know you questions. So let's say we're in the interview and the interviewer asks you, so tell me about yourself and your experience. Tell me about your time at your last job. So I want to understand more from you. Why are you looking for a new job? What do you know about our company? So in your experiences working, what kinds of documents have you created? So you mentioned about working on different projects. What kind of deliverables were you responsible for producing in the projects that you've worked on? I have a question that I keep thinking about, which is how technical are you? How could you explain to us how technical you are? I also want to find out which environment are you most comfortable working in? Would it be more of a waterfall environment or an agile environment? Can you tell us more about that? What kinds of tools have you used to create the deliverables that you've created? Have you had the need to create any kinds of reports in your last jobs? And what kinds of reports have you created? And what tools do you use to do that? What experience do you have with testing and doing UAT or SIT tests? So explain to me your process for eliciting requirements. So explain to me how you would go about getting alignment between the business and the IT or technical team. Okay, so tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult stakeholder. Tell me about a time when you had to implement a new process and tell me how you went about doing that. Tell me about a time when you had to steer a client towards a different course of action than the one they were set on taking. Tell me about a time when you failed and how did you deal with that? So, how would you deal with receiving criticism from a superior? Tell me about how you handle problems and stress at work. How have you handled it in the past? Tell me about a time when you had to be relatively quick in coming to a decision. So, which agile methodologies are you aware of and which ones have you worked in? So, in a given sprint cycle, can you highlight the key deliverables that you would produce as a BA? So, in terms of writing user stories, do you have experience writing purely technical user stories? Let's say, for example, that I am a stakeholder and I believe that the BA and the PO, the product owner, are the same, do the same role. How would you explain to me the difference between the business analyst and the product owner? How are their roles different? Of all the skills that you have that you've explained to me so far, is there any skill that you think you're missing or you're lacking that you'd like to acquire? So, talk to me a little bit about your experience working with QA and how do you interact with the QA team? Have you worked with UI designers or UX designers in the past, and how have that interaction been for you? What has been your role when you're working with a UX or UI designer? How do you handle when the development team produces something that's not matching your requirements? How do you deal with that? Once you've understood the project vision and what they're trying to accomplish and what the solution is, how do you get from that solution to actually communicating it to the technical team and having it delivered? What is your process? What's your steps for getting it from big idea solution to minute details for the implementation of that solution? So, what do you like about being a BA? Why do you want to be in this field? Can you tell me about a time when you had to juggle multiple projects and you had to work with tight deadlines? What is the most challenging thing that you've experienced so far of all the projects you've worked on? All right, so there you have it, a long list of questions, and there are more. I'm going to give you this document that you can download that has all of the questions, some real interviews that people have sent me, right? So I hope that you found this useful for you to be able to pause and practice and listen to the kinds of questions that you're likely to get in a BA interview, right? So hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to send you the other questions. You're going to keep practicing. And the more you practice, the more you become more confident and be able to answer the questions well. All right. So I will see you in the next lesson. Thanks. See you there.